for our listeners and for our viewers, Dave Wolcott's been on the show too. He's become a great friend to me personally. We're both part of the strategic coach group, which we both learn so much. And I look forward to those trips, not only because I get to go to a workshop once a quarter and learn and grow and learn strategies and tactics and think about my thinking to take back and put back into my business, but I also get to spend some time with my buddy up there. So, Dave, the three questions that I have for folks is just asking them about what they're observing right now. What are they anticipating next? What are they seeing unfolding? And then also what you're doing in the next 30 days. So let's jump into the observation part, and so good to see you again.
Yeah, for sure. Likewise, MC. Appreciate it. And I guess first thing I want to say is just, heartfelt support goes out to all those that are being affected by this across the globe, especially the healthcare workers as well that are on the front lines of this right now. I think they're dealing with the brunt of this. The first thing I'm seeing really happening out there is really two things, which I find quite interesting. The first thing is you have one class of people, which is really all about consuming mainstream media, folks that are just consuming the mainstream media, and then they're going into fear and doubt and all of that sensationalism, right? That's really holding people back, I think, during this time. Yep. And then the other group of people that we see, which is amazing, is, the team that I've built and the resources and network that I follow and, information and communities such as this, right, that are providing amazing information, right, at a time of need, and looking at the glass half full and where the opportunities really lie, is really just a whole different perspective on this, because the world is changing for sure, but where are the opportunities for this?
Yeah, absolutely. And the world, it's changing every day, as we've mentioned, in previous conversations and so forth too. What are some of the things that you're seeing? What are some of the big changes that you're preparing your business for, and then also preparing yourself and your family first, right? And then your business.
Right. So I have a few key items that I wanted to share with the audience and really make this really impactful. About 5 or 6 key points here. The one is to focus on your mindset. We've been on the show before. We've talked about mindset and how important that is. But now more than ever, having a positive mindset is great. And I know so many folks out there struggle with, hey, I don't have the time to meditate or to do a morning routine. But right now, you have the time. You're not commuting. You're not going into the office. So it's a critical time to start creating some new habits and everything. And you'll really find some immediate results in that, in terms of having clarity and removing anxiety right from your day. So that would be the first point that I think is really key. The second would be to listen to trusted and unbiased sources of information, right? If you're consuming CNN during the day, that's going to be a problem, right? That's going to lead you to the wrong set of outcomes. What you want to be doing is following thought leaders that are showing where the opportunities are, maybe how we can help other people, and things of those areas. The third thing, MC, I would say is for business owners. The CARES Act it's so rapidly changing, but I saw a phenomenal town hall by Tom Wheelwright yesterday that completely broke down the CARES Act. And if you're a business owner, I mean, you've got to be applying absolutely right now. The payroll protection plan is going to be a grant. That's an excellent benefit to employers. There's some employee benefits as well. But I would definitely stay on top of that. Even if you don't think you're affected or you don't apply, it's definitely worth looking into immediately. And then on the investor front, apologize, but there's a little bit of a delay and an echo. So bear with me here. But on the investor front, I still firmly believe in the holistic wealth strategy that we've been talking about. I must say that, the strategy of putting money into your infinite banking policy and then investing in tangible assets like real estate, I feel very confident in my future and my portfolio, right? If you were heavily invested in the market, if you could stomach that 30-40%, hit, it goes to show you it's completely speculation. We've been talking about this forever, and now you see the real impact, right? Now, I will say that multifamily real estate, right, there may be some issues in the short term and the next quarter with people not paying rent because they've lost their jobs. But that asset, right, you're holding on to that asset for the next 5 to 7 years. So it's a very short-term hit. And the fact that we can tell investors that, their assets value, it's all about capital preservation, right? And they're not losing money at this point in time. And that's very valuable, especially with the infinite banking as well. I have my policies all overfunded, and there's a floor on that. So you can never lose money. And by the way, I have liquidity, because what's really going to emerge from all of this is, having dry powder and striking where the opportunities are. Because, mark my words, but America and the world will be for sale for the rest of the year, right? There's going to be some amazing opportunities, whether you're buying assets or what you're buying. There's going to be some great advantages. The other tactical item, MC, that I would point out that's a great way to maybe cover yourself and your family right now is, if you haven't already looked at taking out a HELOC, right? What a great opportunity where the rates are, at historic lows. Pull out some of that untrapped equity and use that as a cushion for yourself during this uncertain times. And again, when some of these opportunities, open up here in the next few months, you'll be very well positioned, to strike on those. And then the last one that I would point out, as part of the CARES Act, many people might not be familiar with. This is really interesting, but as part of that act, if you're heavily invested in 401k programs, you can actually pull out $100,000 in that, pay no early tax payment, and you have 3 years to you can use it as a loan and pay it back within 3 years and pay no taxes, or you can take it out and not pay it back and have that just pay the taxes in 3 years. So again, another way to access some capital that the government's allowing for us right now. And also as part of a asset repositioning strategy that we've talked about, this could be another great way to, dilute yourself out of some of the qualified plans.
Those are really, really good tactical things, Dave. And this is what I love. What I love about it is there's a lot of things here to just quickly to touch on, and I know we're very much in sync on a lot of things and doing similar things. Because let's touch on the overfunded life insurance policies first, right? So what I did was to pay back all policy loans, make sure all of my policies are funded right up to the max. Keep very little cash in the banks, because the blind spot, I think, is also the banking system, right? One of the things that I'm looking at too is, okay, there's big bailouts, right? A lot of bailouts going on, but as the ripple effect of the ripple effect that the unemployment's going to cause, I guess it's kind of all interconnected, right? Companies cutting overhead, which is laying off, unfortunately, a lot of folks, but that effect throughout the economy makes its way into a very, very unstable banking system already, with defaults and so forth. That there's some shaky foundations, I think, that banks are on, and we don't know really what's going on because they're not very transparent, right? So funding things up to the max with the overfunded life insurance policies with mutual insurance companies would be one. Cash on hand would be another one, tying into assets repositioning. You made a really great point with a HELOC. Lines of credit get, if you have good credit, get lines of credit established and have it ready to go. They might, I mean, you never know with financial institutions, but they might cut down a little bit on some of those lines of credit, right? So get as many as you can on the lines of credit. I'm not saying utilize it, but just make sure it's there, that in case if you need it, it's there. The qualified retirement plans, the 401ks you mentioned, through this CARES Act, that if there's any money that you can get out of that to hold as part of your dry powder, if you will, to position that, it's a perfect time to do that. And then the other thing that I would also just share there is just cash on hand. The other thing that I'm personally doing is cash on hand and with me, and then also just some food, which is going to become very, very important as this things unfolding. But those are very, very good practical, tactical things to do right now, because many businesses are already experiencing a cash crunch, as you've alluded to, and then if they're not already, they might down the line. Oh, the other one was the loan, right? The SBA loans, to apply for that. That's another source of liquidity. So there's a lot of different resources that you can position yourself and get in line to give yourself the runway for this plane to eventually take off and have a lot of wind underneath your wings to fly when things start to turn around and when we as a whole start rebuilding from this, right? Any comments?
Yeah, no, absolutely, MC. Completely with you there. There's one word that I'd love to point out here. It's called resourcefulness. And it's interesting because I've got college age kids, and we talk about this a lot, right? As parents, are we paying for all these things for the kids and constantly paying for it, right? And they just think, hey, the gas is paid for, the car is paid for, all these things, right? But until you can actually live in an environment where your resources are constrained, you don't have the creativity to really break through. Okay, so as painful as this is to all of us, right? Look at the pace of innovation right now. It is absolutely staggering. I mean, I just saw yesterday the physical therapy clinic is now offering online treatments, right? And who would have thought about that, right? Who would have thought about that a year ago? Never would have happened. So until you're really confronted with such a big change, right, you won't actually be able to come up with these ideas or these creative ways to become resourceful. And you can become resourceful in a multitude of ways, right? It's your liquidity, your capital, what you have, how you position yourself. I have a good friend who got furloughed for 90 days, is in the hospitality industry. That's a great opportunity for her to not only spend more time with the family, but also work on a side business she's been thinking about for a long time, right? So take this as an opportunity to be resourceful, to be creative, and think about, where are you going to be when we come out of this thing? Are you going to move yourself ahead and grow from this learning, right? Or are you going to be a victim of it?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, this is resourcefulness. I'm going to write that word down because I think that's one of the words that are going to go up on my wall, along with a couple of them. Control being a big one of that, right? And one of the other words that are up there is controlling my environment, which are more than one word, but definitely something in this time that I'm looking at. But resourcefulness, you're definitely going to have to be. One other thing that you mentioned too, the opportunity to start working on things that you've always wanted to. What an opportunity we have. We have an amazing opportunity to start working on things that we've always wanted to, because now there's some freed up time, right? And I know folks are at home probably listening to this. They have children with them and so forth. Find time for yourself and find time to work on these things that you've always wanted to, because you can now, right? Being at home. And, we've spoken a little bit earlier. I mentioned I'd interviewed Stephen Marley on my show, a previous guest that just explained about how the entire way that we work is about to change. And we didn't get into what, obviously how it will and what the transition would be. But I almost think that what he was talking about is here. So I think that that the way that we work is going to change. So everybody's going to be contractors or plugging into other ecosystems and collaborating with folks. So there's a lot of new endless possibilities for us moving forward in this new world that we have right now.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, MC. Really, really makes sense. And, I'll kind of reiterate again from kind of like our wealth strategy and what we talk about, right? Every dollar you invest in yourself or every minute you invest in yourself, I expect a 10x return. Okay. So if you're feeling a short term, let's say this quarter, your net worth is going down, your income is going down, right? But still look at the big picture. Think about if you can invest in yourself in the next 100 days and you can come out with a new business model, new relationships, new opportunities, you've transformed yourself. Think about the power of where that can really take you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the whole thing about the strategy that we spoke about and that we teach about, and I know that it's kind of funny how our frameworks align. We always talk about the 4 pillars of cash creation, cash capture, cash flow creation, and cash control. And the pillars that we have are still in place. Investing in yourself and your relationships, and improving in your skill sets and adding new skill sets to be able to produce and create for the marketplace, right? And serve the marketplace, and then positioning that capital efficiently and then deploying it. And right now, maybe you want to touch on the deployment of capital. And of course, our favorite, I'm not going to forget the 4th pillar, to bring that into taxes, a tax strategy as part of the cash control, a asset protection strategy, and then also an overall just estate planning thing as well. So and as part of cash control. So maybe you want to talk about the cash flow creation. I know that a lot of things have been on pause right now. What are you doing? What are you looking? Are you just looking at the different areas that you want to jump into eventually and just seeing how this unfolds? Some comments?
Yeah, no, it's a good point, MC. Probably a lot of topics right there to cover, but I would say, it's all about being prudent right now. Certainly there's no new opportunities that are happening in the market, real estate. I mean, people can't even meet with brokers and chase new deals. I don't think it's prudent to be investing right now. However, being positioned on the right asset classes at the right time this year, just think about in 2008 crisis, and how many millionaires were created just from that financial crisis, right? And think about how many more are going to be created from now if you play yourself, in the right way. So I think it's really key, again, to focus on some of those core things, again, such as education. If you haven't put in an asset protection plan in place, now could be a good time while you have some additional time to put in some things like that and learn more about some of these concepts like the infinite banking and alternative investment thesis that we've been talking about. Because there's never more of an important time to be learning and how you could really leverage this. So in the future, you never end up here again if you were short in terms of control or vulnerability at any level.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this time too for folks, one of the conversations that we've had a lot with folks in our network too is yes, the crisis is here. It's going to be terrible, but besides making the best of it, this was a great wake up call for folks too. I think that realized just what they didn't have in place. So one of the things that I would share is when you restructure things and rebuild, and as I said, reset, recalibrate, and reinvent yourself, take this lesson as a gift that things that you need to have in place, that you didn't have in place, get them in place ASAP. Because I always said it's the non-sexy stuff that makes all the difference in any part of life, right? It's the things that are not sexy, that are not great cocktail party conversation, that are things that you need in place first before the other things come. You know, some of the stuff that is sort of the iceberg under the water, and we always just see the top of it, the tip of the iceberg, right? So what's underneath the water? Solid foundation. So what is a solid foundation? A solid foundation consists out of having all of the protections in place. You know, we mentioned infinite banking, life insurance plays into that, disability insurance, property and casualty insurance, auto insurance, umbrella insurance policies, asset protection strategies, estate planning, you know, lost testament, will, medical directives, power of attorneys, having all of that stuff in line and in place there, because that protects, you know, number one, your number one and greatest asset, which provides certainty, by the way, which I don't think anyone could put a price on, really. So to have that in place, then positioning your capital basically as part of that foundation, and having an overall strategy for taxes to protect the capital that you have positioned, right? And then also have wealth insurance is another component of that, with gold and silver, just some exposure to that. I just look at it as part of an insurance policy for myself personally, not as a speculative investment or anything sexy in any way. It's just insurance. And now you start building the blocks. Those are just some foundational pieces. Maybe if you want to comment on that and add anything to that to have in place, which this lesson or this time provides this for folks to reflect on and have that in place the next time, you know, or just get that in place right now.
Yeah, totally agree, MC. I think the asset protection, the time to build your infrastructure is now. And I've heard too many people being complacent over the past years. We've been talking about this cycle ending for years now. When is this bull run going to end? And everyone was still just very complacent. Well, you know, hey, the market's still going to just go up on average 7%. Even if it comes down, you know, I'll be protected. But look, I mean, unless you're 20 years old, right, you're going to feel this. And we're not really sure how long it's going to take for the market to bounce back, right? So is time on your side or is time against you? So I think it's more critical than ever to set up some of these plans. And like we talked about, having this comprehensive strategy, it's not only about achieving yield, but it's about protecting your downside. It's about having control. It's about having dry powder, right, when there's opportunities to strike, and having a team on your side to help you through all this.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dave, where can folks also, because you put out some great content and share stuff with your community, where can folks reach out to you as well to learn more about, you know, your community and what you're up to and where they can get in touch with you and get some information on some of the projects that you're involved with?
Sure, MC. Just our website is really the best place. You can schedule a call with me at pantheoninvest.com. Schedule a call, a free consultation. Happy to talk through some of this infrastructure and strategy that we're talking about. And we also have a free ebook that covers this wealth strategy, which is pantheoninvest.com/wealth-strategy.
Awesome. Well, fantastic, my friend. Thank you for being a part of this. I know we threw it sort of together this week. It was an idea that I had after several conversations of just people reaching out and saying, MC, what are you guys seeing? What do you see coming? And what are you guys doing to prepare for this? So I appreciate you being part of this and always appreciate the time that we spent together.
Thanks. Likewise, MC. Really applaud you for putting this together and providing that the right amount of information, right, for folks so that they can really take this as a big learning lesson and an opportunity, right, versus all the sensationalist stuff. So really appreciate that. Appreciate you and all the listeners. So have a great day.